So I've heard you're wondering what you can do for fun now that you've decided to live your own life, Kyoka said, as she once again sat on the other side of her own little desk, with none other than Kira sitting across from her. Well, you've come to the right place. I didn't come to you. You pulled me in here, and how do you even know that? Kira asked, feeling a little weirded out by Kyoka's sudden invasiveness. Me and Yonda talk. Kyoka shrugged. Anyway, I've already been making plans for how to. Kyoka stopped for a second, before taking out her script and rereading it. Integrate. That's the word. I've been making plans on how to integrate you for when you decided to start being around more. What if that never happened? Kira pouted. It was always going to happen. No way you could be happy watching someone else live your life. Kyoka said, and here at the Midoriya Foundation, happiness is mandatory and you will follow the rules. I don't like this girl. Kira thought. She's a bit much. Mies admitted. So, first let's talk. What did you like to do back before you came here? Kyoko asked. Nothing. Kira answered blankly. I either studied, trained, or went on missions. I didn't do anything aside from that. I couldn't do anything aside from that. And I never liked doing any of them. Okay, well at least we know what you don't like, Kyoka said as she took out a piece of paper and started writing on it. So did you hate it because you were being forced to do it, or because you just didn't like doing any of those things? I didn't like murdering people. Kira deadpanned, letting a bit of annoyance leak into her voice. And the training and studying was all for the sake of murdering people. All right, Kyoka said as she continued writing. Well, is there anything you thought looked fun while you were watching Mies's adventures? Well, I know what I don't want to do. Sitting down watching TV all day and cuddling pillows with fake girls on them. Kira smoked. You take that back. They're real to me, Mies shouted. I was just joking. Or was that too far for a joke? I really can't tell. Kira frowned. It's fine, I guess. So long as you don't mean it. Mies huffed. So you're not someone who likes sitting around all day. Got it. Kyoka surmised. Kira looked over at the paper Kyoka was writing on and scowled. Your handwriting is awful. So's your personality, but I was trying to be polite by not bringing it up. Kyoka said her cutesy, polite tone, but there was a bit of annoyance in her voice too. Also, I'm 6. What did you expect? You're 6. Kira's eyes widened at that revelation. I thought you were older with the way you talk. Kyoka stuck her chest out with pride. Thank you very much. That's the first good thing to come out of your mouth today. Kira felt her annoyance flare up, but I guess that explains why you're so short. Moving on, Kyoka hissed. So, I already have an idea of what you might want to do. Let's try a few things, shall we? And why should I just go along with whatever you're asking? Kira asked. Did you have something better to do? Kyoko asked. Fine. Lead the way. Kira grumbled. Alright, first let's try some basketball, Kyoka suggested. She had brought Kira to the backyard, and with the help of Kiba, they set up a basketball court. Well then, are you ready to eat whatever the floor of this court is made of? Kiba boasted as she bounced the ball in her hand. Do any of us know how to play basketball? Kira asked. Nah, but we don't need to worry about that. Let's just focus on getting the ball in the net. Kiba shrugged. First to 10 hoops wins. Very well. Kira sighed. Mies was being charitable and allowing her more control of their body, while she figured out what exactly she wanted to do with her time. It would be rude not to take advantage of that. Immediately, Kira used her vectors and snatched the ball out of Kiba's hands, before throwing it into the basket. That's 1 point, Kira, Kyoka called. Hey, wait a minute, I wasn't ready. Kiba protested, using the ball's shadow to create a hand, before bringing the ball back to her. Yeah, that did kind of feel like cheating. Mies agreed. That sounds like a you problem, Kira replied smugly. Kiba's face became enshrouded with shadow as her mouth twisted into a dark grin. Oh, so we're playing that game. Then Kiba summoned more shadows, which quickly surrounded Kira before creating an orb of shadow around her. Kiba smirked before throwing the ball towards the net, only for the ball to get caught by one of Kira's vectors and tossed into the opposite net. What? Kiba gasped, looking at the ball in shock. Second point, Kira, Hyoka called. Kiba scowled and dispelled her shadow capsule, freeing Kira. How the heck did you do that? Did you not know that my vectors can move through objects? Kira explained with a teasingly smug expression. And as a former assassin, naturally I can work without having to see. Okay, no more games, Kiba said as she brought the ball back to her using her shadows. Kiba summoned more shadows and formed them into humanoid shapes. Some of the shadows ran behind Kira, while some went over to the hoop. Kiba rushed past Kira and jumped over to her hoop, ready to slam the ball in. But Kira put one of her vectors over the net, so when the ball got slammed, it just landed in the hand of the vector. Kira then launched the ball over towards the opposite hoop, but then one of Kiba's shadow teammates jumped up, caught it, and tossed it back over to Kiba. Or at least that was the intent. The shadow ended up tossing the ball out of bounds, in a completely different direction. TFT. Kira snickered, as Kiba's face went red. Shut up. You try puppeting multiple things at once. Kiba hissed. Plus the sun's up and it's making me sloppy. Sure, whatever makes you feel better, Kira said with a smirk. Oh, you are so going down, Kiba said as she recovered the ball. And final point. Kiba. Hyoka called. Aha. Both girls were covered in sweat and trying to catch their breath after both putting their all in the match. I won. In your face, Kiba said, giving the other girl a toothy grin. Just barely. Don't be so smug. That's rich coming from you, Ni said. So did you have fun? Kyoko asked. I mean, it's better than assassination. Kira sighed. But I wouldn't say it's super fun. And now I'm all sweaty and tired. Alright, so you don't like this kind of thing. Kyoko took out a notebook and wrote that down. Okay, let's try something else tomorrow. I have an idea I think you're really gonna like. Alright, I'm here, Kira said as she walked outside the gates of the house and found Kyoku and Sanson waiting for her. What are we doing today? Exploring, Sanson said with an uncomfortably large grin. You're just gonna take a walk around the forest, explore some caves, and look for gems, Kyoku explained. Maybe you'll help her out with an art piece if you feel like it. Just relax and have a good time. Okay, that doesn't sound so bad, Kira said. Doesn't sound exciting either, but I guess I'll try it. Oh, let's go, Sanson said before slithering into the forest. Have fun. And take this, Hyoka said, handing her a backpack. What's in it? Kira asked as she took the bag. Don't worry about that. Just catch up with her before she's out of sight. Go! Go! Hyoka urged her. Kira just shrugged and ran after Sanson, figuring whatever was inside was probably fine. And so for the next hour or so, Kira and Sanson walked through the woods, with Sanson leading the way towards their unknown destination. I'm bored, Ni said. I'm actually enjoying myself, Kira revealed, much to her counterpart's surprise. What? How? We aren't doing anything, Ni's gasped. We're walking in a nice forest, surrounded by lovely trees and animals. The sounds and sights are all just very relaxing, Kira said. Kira was pretty much always keenly aware of their surroundings. It was part of her training as an assassin. She had to take in every sound, sight, and smell around her, so nothing could take her by surprise. And it was thanks to this that she found her trip through the forest rather pleasant. First of all, it was quiet. Kira wasn't a fan of noise. She'd grown up around a lot of loud noises, namely her parents' constant yelling and the sounds of people dying. So she wasn't a big fan of being around lots of noise. You can imagine how she felt about Nise becoming a drummer of all things. But she also wasn't a fan of absolute silence. It was unnatural, and it made her feel like someone was planning to ambush her. The forest had just the right amount of pleasant sounds. Birds chirping and flying through the air, water rushing through nearby streams, small animals rustling around on the ground and making small, cute noises. The sights were also pretty, vibrant greens and browns, with the occasional clear blue streams breaking it up. And the sun and sky had never seemed more beautiful, coloring the ground below in a brilliant way that Kira had never stopped and considered before. The smells were pretty good too. Wood and dirt may not seem like anything special, but they had the same weird relaxing effect that everything else did. And the wind carried that smell through the forest. Speaking of the wind, it was perfect today. Present, but not forceful. A gentle breeze that rustled through the trees, and soft blood brushed her skin. That, combined with the gentle rays of the sun, made the overall feel of the walk even better. Of course, it's not like Kira had never walked through a forest before. It's just that before, she always had some mission she needed to focus on, and things to worry about. Things that kept her from appreciating the little things. But now, all she needed to worry about was relaxing. Oh, please don't tell me you're into all that boring stuff. Nise groaned. You can just go to sleep if you're so bored. Kira suggested. Fine, see you later, Nise said, and a few moments later, Kira felt Nise's presence in her mind fade. And with that, Kira peacefully continued her walk, at least for the next few minutes, until Sanson suddenly stopped. All white were here, Sanson said as she made a giant hand and pointed to a spot on the ground. Please smash the ground here. Sure. Kira punched the spot with her vectors as hard as she could, and the ground crumbled, revealing a large underground cavern. Huh, how did you know that was there? Small crack in the ground. Saw it when I was moving. Sanson explained. How small was that crack? Kira wondered. Sanson jumped down the hole into the cavern, with Kira following suit, using her vectors to slow her fall, letting her land gracefully on her feet. Kira looked around and immediately felt unnerved. Around them was a large rocky opening, illuminated by the opening they'd made, and in front of them was a dark paved path. Much like silence, the dark was another thing Kira wasn't fond of. Unlike pure silence, making the room pitch black was much more achievable. As such, her parents liked to use that for training and punishments. Red vial, please, Sanson said, pointing to the backpack. Oh, sure. Kira used her vectors to take off her backpack and bring it in front of her, opened it up, and searched through it before finding a vial of red liquid. This it? Sanson nodded, before making her mouth huge and opening it up. Kira took a second to figure out what she needed to do, before realizing it and opening up the vial, before dumping the liquid in Sanson's mouth. Sanson closed her mouth, before melting into a puddle and then swirling herself around like, quickly turning her body green, and then she began to glow, lighting up the area around her. Huh? Your body is a world of wonder, Sanson, Kira said as she stared at her newly glowing friend. Sanson went into the backpack and pulled out a small machine, before raising it into the air. The machine made a few beeping noises before a light on the machine turned green. Oh, we good, Sanson said before putting the machine back in the backpack. What did that do? Kira asked. Uses the wind to tell if the quave is deep enough, Sanson explains. Gems can only be found deep underground. If Quave isn't DP, waste of time. I see. Well, then we better get walking, Kira said, realizing that their journey had only just begun. And oh boy, how right she'd been. Apparently, deep underground meant miles deep. Thankfully, Kira had gotten used to long trips, and Sanson just never got tired, so they were able to continue on their little trek without issue. Well, without major issues. Kira found that, unlike the forest, she wasn't a fan of caves. Even with Sanson's light, it was just too quiet and too dark. Sanson had expanded to cover the floor, ceiling, and walls as she moved, making her a moving wall of slime. This was so that she could see into any cracks in the cavern as she moved. This seemed to bear fruit, as suddenly Sanson stopped. "Found it, this wall," Sanson said, pointing a finger to the wall on their left. "Want me to break it open?" Kira asked, getting her vectors ready. "Yes, please." Sanson normally would have just come down here in half-acid form and melt apart the rocks, but she figured she'd let Kira help her out. Slam! Kira's vectors smashed the rock wall and started tearing it apart, ripping out the rocks and letting them fall to the floor. "Stop," Sanson called, after a bit of digging. Kira looked into the hole she'd made and found a deposit of lime crystals, shimmering in response to Sanson's light. "Wow, you're really good at this. Never thought I'd find real gems in a real cave." Okay, let's go back," Sanson said. "Huh? Aren't we gonna mine some more crystals?" Kira asked. "Not what we came for. You'd want like the cave white?" Sanson asked. "Oh, you noticed." Kira realized that, despite moving forward, Sanson could see behind her and was likely studying her expressions the entire time. "I'm not fond of this place, but I don't mind staying a bit longer, so we can get your gems. I mean, we're already here." "It's fine. Can come back later," Sanson said. "I insist. I don't want to go back empty-handed after all that walking," Kira stated. "It'd be a waste." "Okay." Sanson relented. "Let's mine." Phew. Kira breathed a sigh of relief as she flopped onto her bed after changing into her pajamas. "So, how is real-life Minecraft?" Niz asked. "Did you just wake up, right before we're about to go to sleep?" Kira asked, snickering a bit at her timing. "Well, I woke up earlier when you were in the cave, but I still thought it was boring, so I went back to sleep," Niz explained. "Fair, I guess." "Well, walking through the forest was fine, but the cave wasn't pleasant," Kira explained. "I guess it was kinda interesting gathering gems, but it's not something I think I'll try again." "So you're the kind of person that likes going on walks and that's it? And you say I don't do much?" Niz scoffed. "I talked to Kyoko after I got back. She said that I probably like more relaxing, slow activities. She's got a whole list of things lined up," Kira explained. "That girl really looks up to Izuku, huh?" "Yeah, why wouldn't she? He's great," Niz said. "Well, yeah, but they're both really different. I don't think she can be like Izuku, even if she acts like him," Kira deduced. Niz stayed silent, contemplating that thought. As much as she would have liked to refute that, there was a grain of truth there. Kyoko was a nice girl, when you got past some of her more abrasive parts, and she tried her best to be like Izuku, but she never felt the same warmth that she felt from Izuku. It was weird. Some people could be really nice, like Kyoko and Fu, but Niz would never get the same warm feeling she got from other people like Izuku, Ochiko, Kei, or Eri. She wondered why that was.